Well, when one goes to another culture in order to take the message of the gospel, he discovers immediately that there is a setting in which he must present that gospel in an understandable way that means something to the people who are to receive it. What is important to us in our culture is not necessarily important to those people. Now, understand this, I'm not talking about changing the gospel. I'm talking about how we approach the people in order to teach them the gospel. For instance, I grew up in an environment in southern Arizona, a very, very conservative Church of Christ. I'm grateful for my heritage. But there was one thing that was emphasized constantly, and that was consistency. I was told, we the Churches of Christ were consistent in our approach to teaching the Word of God. And we were consistent with what the Bible said. And we said what the Bible said, we spoke where the Bible spoke, and we were silent where the Bible was silent. And that was a big, big teaching point in my bringing up. When I went to the mission field, I used what I had learned. I started talking to people about the inconsistency of Roman Catholicism, and they admitted it immediately. Now, if you read my book, you'll run into this if you haven't read it already. And they would say, yeah, but that wasn't a big thing with them. They saw all of life as inconsistent. And they pointed out some inconsistencies in my own life, of which I was not aware. So that is not the way to start to teach in Guatemala or in any place in Latin America. That's not a point you start with. They have other questions, like, why is God interested in me personally? Why in the world would he be interested in me? And what are the legitimate expectations if I align myself with God? What does he expect of me, and what should I expect of him? Now, those are questions that I never asked in Arizona or in Texas. But those are questions that you must ask there. And in order to do this, you need to understand their history, where they have been coming from, their concept of ideas like what is faith? What is obedience? Let me assure you that it goes much deeper in some areas than our own concept. What is virtue? Can a man really be virtuous? How is he forgiven? Can he be forgiven? What is forgiveness all about? What does forgiveness do? Is it temporary? Is it eternal? What makes God mad? What makes him glad? Sort of a thing. And this is very, very, very important to them. And in understanding their mindset and their worldview allows you to take the changeless eternal gospel and put it in a setting that is meaningful to them and answers questions for them. And this is why we're studying culture. And I think that when we get a little farther down the road, especially when we talk about cultural clashes, which we will tomorrow and the next day, you'll see more completely what I mean by why we need to understand their point of view in culture. At ACC, we didn't have a single mission course, much less a mission degree. We have degrees there now. We didn't have a single one. It was just sort of Acts 2:38 and sick 'em. Go down there and get it done. You're an enthusiastic young man, go learn Spanish and convert everybody. Well, it's not that simple, of course. So it's very easy to get in a position where you forget to commune with God, forget to commune with don't take the time to commune with your fellow workers and even with your family, which is tragic. And that's what causes a lot of people to come back from the mission field with a bitter taste in their mouths. You get more done by taking more time to minister one to another and to be with God in prayer and in meditation. That I promise you. He was quite a person. I'm sure you have. Papa Doc Duvalier was for over 30 years the absolute total ruler of Haiti. He changed his personality. People wrote about him that he was a kind country doctor until he became a politician. And then he became an absolute dictator, and he kept the people in subjection. He would, every once in a while, just hang a few people to show that no one could get so close to him that they could persuade him in any way. So he would hang some of his closest associates. He turned into a devil. There's no other way of saying it. He used voodoo to frighten the people constantly. And one of the few assassination plans that I read about that I thought was a pretty good idea and that the CIA should have let the guy try it was a plan to assassinate Papa Doc Duvalier, because he had 3 or 4 heart attacks. He had a weak heart. And they knew from the spy plane, the U-2 and all, they charted his activities, that every morning at 6 o'clock he went out into the patio of his mansion there, and he had an exercise with his voodoo ritual. And there was this colonel in the United States Air Force who proposed this assassination plan, that he would go up high in the air in his jet, and he would skywrite the voodoo death sign above Duvalier's palace, and at precisely at 6 o'clock he would go into a steep dive and break the sound barrier, because he was in a supersonic jet, break the sound barrier just above his estate, and he said Duvalier will look up and see the death sign and hear the noise and die of a heart attack. CIA wouldn't let him do it. I think they should let him try it. But as it was, they had to just wait till he died a natural death and then his son, Baby Doc, took over as president for life, but he didn't last as long. He wasn't as strong as his father, and the people were pretty sick and tired of an absolute dictator by then. So he was forced into exile. And since then, it's been a comedy of errors in Haiti. I don't know how much you've kept up with Haiti. A strong man will be elected. They do have elections now, but he won't last very long. Other people will challenge him. He'll go into exile, come to the United States, and then things will get all out of hand, and the U.S. will back this guy to come back. It has been a super, super, super mess ever since.